Hey, I'm on my way to see Jack Bauman. He is with Guidester Travel, and we're going to be talking all about his upcoming trip to London. He's going to go see the Cardinals and the Cubs, some castles and cathedrals. That's Guidester Travel, and I'm going to teach him a little bit about Cockney rhyming slang that he can use while he's over in London in June. That's coming up right next. Check out my old China, Jack Bauman.
Welcome everybody. I'm Jack Bauman with Guidester, and this is Peter Wright, originally from London. We're going to do something fun and interesting today. I wanted to give our audience an insight into the lovable and world-renowned Cockney accent, which is the East London accent. So we have an official, legitimate Londoner here in St. Louis to give us a little background on the Cockney accent, where it comes from, how it works, how it's put together, and some examples on how to use it. So on your next trip to London, you'll be one step ahead of the game and you'll be able to communicate with some East Londoners. So Peter, thanks for coming.
Absolutely, especially if you fall into the East End of London, which is a really fabulous part of London. And you know, I am a Cockney, so I sound a little bit like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins right now.
Goodbye, Mary Poppins. Don't stay away too long.
I've been here for 30 years, but originally a Cockney, grew up in London, and the Cockney rhyming slang actually derives from St Mary le Bell. And if you are born within the sound of Bow Bells, you are considered a Cockney.
So if I'm born within the sound of this specific church,
Yep.
I'm a Cockney.
Yes, you
Whether
are.
I speak like a Cockney or not, I'm a Cockney.
You probably will.
Brilliant.
But the Cockney dialect has some rhyming slang, which is really, really fun. And this was around 1850s, we think it started. And it really started because the criminals and the street traders wanted their own language, so the police and other people didn't really understand what they were saying.
Right.
So it's an ingenious little dialect and language. So what is Cockney rhyming slang? So Cockney rhyming slang is two words, a pair of words. One of the words rhymes with the word that you're actually trying to use, but you don't necessarily use that word.
Okay.
For example, if you're going up the stairs, you would say, I'm going up the apples and pears.
Because it rhymes with the pears. Stairs
Right.
and pears rhyme.
Right, but you would drop that.
Okay.
You would say, I'm going up the apples.
Going up the apples.
And only a Cockney would really understand what you're saying, because they're used to that dialect and they're used to that rhyming slang.
So you need to know what that second word is.
You do. But once you know what that second word is, you can drop it.
And what do you think the percentage is of people using that second word versus not?
Probably 50-50.
Okay.
Certainly the older generation, which I guess we're falling into that now, would just use that first word.
Right.
For example, driving down the road, you would call that the frog and toad.
Sure. Why not?
Absolutely. It's rude not to, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. That would have been my first impression. Okay, so it's a rhyming slang.
Yep.
And you need to have knowledge of both words.
Yep.
Do the words used relate to the thing or activity you're talking about?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Not all the time. So frog and toad road, obviously there's no relation there.
Or a frog could cross a road, I guess.
I guess it could. There are a few though. One of my favorites, trouble and strife.
Trouble and strife. I'm going to guess that is something to do with a wife.
It's your wife. But there are some that do relate back to those two words, and there's some that do not. Boat race, face. Barnet fair, hair. Mince pies, eyes. Hey, you're telling me some pork pies. You're telling me some lies.
Telling me some lies.
So you would just say, hey, you're telling me porkies.
Porkies. Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So there's a lot of words like that really an everyday Londoner, certainly a Cockney, would use in everyday language.
That's what I was going to ask. How common is this? Because I've been to London many times, and I spend most of my time in central London, but I've
Right.
been to Liverpool Street and Bishopgate, and
Yep.
Obviously I would say that London's east part has changed and developed and
Absolutely.
gentrified.
Yep.
But even today, even in the nice areas that's been gentrified,
Yep.
it's still that kind of slang going on?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a very common one, and you probably use it in America without even realizing it. Use your loaf.
Ah, the loaf of bread.
Loaf of bread.
Oh,
Use
wow.
your head.
Use your head. Okay.
So, there are some that translate, and that's the same with most words. If you think about it, if somebody says, hey, where did that word originate from? We don't know, but we just say it.
Well, the funny thing is, if you're speaking English in America and and you're asking where something originated from, best bet is going to be England.
Yep.
I mean, cross the threshold. It's raining dogs and cats. Graveyard shift.
Right.
Right. These are all phrases, and so Cockney is just specific to London. But so much of what we say and do in the States is related to English, Old English phrases and Old English terms, and that's one of the reasons I love England. I love Europe in general, but Britain, England, it's fascinating.
So I'm drinking my Rosie Lee.
Tea. You're drinking tea? Because for a second I was like, you're drinking coffee. That doesn't help, but you're drinking tea. Of course, an Englishman's drinking tea. So the Lee.
Yeah.
You would just say, I'm drinking Lee? Or
Rosie.
Rosie. I'm
drinking
Rosie.
my Rosie.
I'm drinking my Rosie.
I'm having a cup of Rosie.
Cup of Rosie.
And you know, I know you're doing a trip over to England to see the Cardinals and the Cub series,
yes.
and that's going to be a fabulous, fun trip. And that's right on the outskirts of East London. That's going to be in Stratford. So
we're staying in right near Covent Garden.
Yep.
So it's just a quick tube stop.
Yep.
And we're going to the Cards game at Olympic Stadium.
Yep.
That's East London.
Yep.
So once we finish the game, we'll go out and I'll show people some maybe even go to Mary LeBeau.
Yep.
You know, and see the original church, the original Cockney church.
Absolutely. And just try to pick up on some of the dialect there. To put all of this into maybe one big sentence, let's say that you were going to go to the pub and you were going to have a beer and then you were going to drive home to your wife. You know, you would say something like, hey, I'm going to go to the Battle Cruiser.
Boozer, yep. Okay.
I'm going to have a pig's ear.
I'm going to have a beer.
I'm going to jump in my jam jar.
My car.
I'm going to hit the Frog and Toad.
I'm going to hit the road.
I'm going to go home to see my trouble and strife.
And see my wife.
And while I'm driving in my jam jar, I'm not going to use the dog and bone.
I'm not going to use the dog and bone. The horn?
Phone.
Phone. Got it. That
dog
makes
and
sense.
bone.
Now you're
phone.
okay because you don't want to be using your dog and bone in your jam jar.
Especially while you're Brahms and Liszt or Elephant's Trunk.
Yes, if you're drunk,
right,
or pissed, right, drunk or pissed, which doesn't happen often in England. I don't think.
No, never.
So, what are some really key ones? We talked a couple: Jam Jar, Trouble and Strife. What are some other really good Cockney rhymes?
There's a lot of really good R-rated ones. Obviously, that's for another time.
Right.
Yeah, the main ones I think I've just used there, and you know, you can hear a lot of these. You know, especially in the East End of London, especially if you go to the markets. You know, London still has a lot of your markets on a Sunday morning where you can buy lots of stuff, and those street traders they're all Cockneys and they're funny, and they'll use a lot of the terminology.
I love it. So the Cockney accent is a sing-song sort of secret language, and you have two words, just to kind of recap. One of those words is going to relate to the first word, but the second word you can drop. So going up the stairs becomes apples and pears, because pears and stairs rhyme together. Anything else that we want to let them know? I think we gave them a good overview of.
Absolutely, and you know, when you're walking around in London, you know, and your plates of meat hurt, you know, just go find a Battle Cruiser and a pig's ear, and it's all good.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so is there anything else we want to give our audience before we let them go? Any secret sort of Cockney?
That's it. I think we've covered just about everything. Again, there's lots of R-rated versions, and maybe we'll do that another time. I don't know.
2.0.
Yeah, 2.0. Yeah. But no, everybody that's going to the London trip, Cards Cubs.
Castles, Cathedrals.
In June, right?
Yes, in June.
That'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be at the London Stadium, which is actually where West Ham play.
Right.
That's their ground. It used to be the Olympic Stadium.
Yes.
I've been there and seen a football game, actually. It'll be a lot of fun. So, yeah, congratulations to everybody that's going with Jack. I'm sure you'll have a great time.
Now, if you're going to be there in June, we're going to meet up for
Absolutely.
We're going to meet up for a pig's ear.
Oh yeah,
at the Battle Cruiser.
Yes, we are.
It's going to be great. Brilliant. All right, Peter. Well,
all right.
I really appreciate coming in and educating us.
Absolutely. I hope it was informative and fun, and everybody have a great time in England.
How do you say goodbye in Cockney? Or I'll see you later.
I don't know. Cheerio.
Cheerio? That's not stereotypical at all. How about cheerio, governor? Does that work? All right. Cheerio.